Is it something that you said you joined them with and you had your own fund? So how does that work?
So they are a private equity fund.
Okay.
They do larger investments. They wanted to create a VC fund or an early stage fund with an ex-founder to do early stage investments. And so it's largely their capital and then my capital. So in funds, there are usually partners, general partners, the people who run the fund but also put up their capital. And so in this fund deciding on the investments and allocating the capital, I also put my capital on every single investment that we do.
Oh, so it's a joint combination of a fund that
But largely their capital, some of my capital as well.
Got it. Okay.
So in a fund, basically, there is a partner who sometimes has the sort of designation of general partner.
Okay.
So the general partner is the fund allocator, helps decide the investment, scope the investment. But when you say general partner, the person has also committed their own capital to the fund.
Got it.
The quantum of capital can be different for every single fund, but a GP or a general partner has put their own money as well.
Got it. So is that a criteria to start a fund for somebody looking to do?
In any AIF actually, which is also, so our fund is based in Belgium, but in any AIF, which is the Indian structure for a fund as well, the GP or the allocators of the capital have to commit some amount of capital to the fund as well. And that's called a GP pool.
Okay. And can you start a fund individually in India? Anybody that has a certain amount of money is able to start a fund of their own?
Yeah, so all funds have to be SEBI registered in India, Security and Exchanges Board of India. And so usually what SEBI tries to do is, see, at the end of the day, people who are running funds are allocating other people's capital.
Correct.
And so what SEBI tries to do is say, hey, I want people who are responsible, who are knowledgeable, and who can allocate the capital efficiently and effectively, because SEBI's job is to protect the investor. Yeah. Now, in the stock market, it's a retail investor investing in individual stocks. Here, it's an LP or a limited partner. And usually for a sort of category 2 AIF, which is where most VC funds and PE funds sit, the minimum check is 1 crore. So it's usually an HNI.
Okay.
But in any circumstance, SEBI has to protect the investor. And so they try to have certain checks, balances and guardrails to ensure that only a certain type of people become fund managers, because that's important. And so that's how sort of SEBI works. But technically anyone can apply to SEBI, but you have to get a license from SEBI before you want to run a fund.
Okay, and that doesn't apply for angel investing and venture capital?
No, so venture capital and private equity definitely has SEBI registration. Angel investment is your own personal capital. Now with angel investment, what happens is, there are 2 ways or 3 ways to do your angel investments. The first way is to do it directly on the cap table. Invest directly in a company, own shares directly of the company. But then the management of that investment, the legal requirements of that investment, signing all the paperwork in relation to that investment, coordination of the exit with the founder, everything is your responsibility. Now, I've been a founder, I'm professionally running a fund as well, so I understand the lay of the land and how these things work. But for a lot of people who do it as a pastime, do it as passion area, these are all new, right? If you invest in a stock, pretty much it's completely liquid, you can buy and sell when you want. And management of a listed company holding is not so complex as such as it is in an unlisted company holding or a private company holding. So there's 2 other ways to do it. Another way, so one other way to do it is to do it through angel networks. So there are multiple angel networks which bring groups of angels together, where the angel may put even a small check like 2.5-3 lakh rupees or even like 2 lakh rupees. They pool this capital together. They charge you a fee, which is a setup fee to do the investment, and they charge you a fee also when you exit the business, a percentage of your profit, etc., all of that. But then the management of the investment, the legal paperwork in relation to the investment, the MIS, the quarterly or once in 6-month calls with the founder to get the update on the business, all of that is done by the network. Yeah. And similarly, what has now started happening is category 1 AIFs. Category 1 AIFs are where an investor commits to 25 lakh rupees over 5 years to a fund manager, but can decide which investments of that fund manager the investor wants to do. So in a category 2 AIF, which is a VC fund or a PE fund, you invest in a fund. That fund manager decides where to allocate the capital, and every investment that the fund manager makes, your portion of investment into the fund you have to make. That's called a blind pool. A non-blind pool is I commit 25 lakhs over 5 years to this fund manager, But each investment separately, I'll decide whether or not I'm doing it and how much I'm putting into the fund.
Okay.
So basically, as an angel, you have 3 routes. You have direct investment, angel networks or syndicates, and then eventually you can do a category 1 AIF.
Got it. Okay, so I want to understand that somebody who is your angel investing, you have a fund. How do you segregate your funds between different, say, industries or different types of networks?
Look, I think let's step back even further, right? So I think now there's been lots of excitement after Shark Tank, after all these startups are listing, after the boom we had in 21, 22 when people like me sold, etc. That everybody wants access to this asset class. Everyone's like, even I want to invest in startups, even I want to do angel investments, right? Even as someone who works in the industry, who's made my largest ever outcome and has made capital that I could have retired at 29 from my startup, I still allocate only like 10% of my family's capital to the startup ecosystem.
Okay.
Maybe 10, 12, 15% at best, right?
Okay.
Because it is a very risky asset class, which is completely illiquid. And even if you invest in the best person, at the early stage, there's lots of things in the market that can happen that will make the startup not so successful. Good person, good market, but something happens, regulation changes, that doesn't work, right? So I think understanding the risk appetite of the investor is very crucial, and how much of that capital are you willing to put in an asset class where you may go to zero.
Correct.
See, in a listed company also, it's very rare that the company goes to zero. You may lose 20%, 30%, you may gain 20%, 30%. If you do very well, you'll do 2x, 3x. If you do very badly, you'll go to half. But zeros are very rare. It has to be a large scam for a listed company to go to zero. Here, zeros are quite common, right? And 10x's, 20x's are also common, but you have to balance the zeros with the 10x's to see what happens. So I think you have to have the gumption, the stomach to be able to do these kind of things, right? Now, how do you allocate your capital? I would say, if you're from outside the ecosystem, there is no shame in saying I'm investing through someone. I'm investing in a fund, I'm investing in an angel network, because look, this, unlike other kinds of investments, is an asset class where there is massive asymmetry of information.
Correct.
And time is money, which means I spend 100% of my time doing early stage startup investing. You spend 10% of your time doing it. You will probably not see most of the deals that I see. Because I'm going out, I'm attending events, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm creating content, I'm talking about it, people know me. And so they reach out to me. I reach out to them. If you spend only 10% of your time on it, you will not get the same deal access. And so understanding that aspect and accepting that aspect is crucial.
Got it. And Arjun, tell me, has there been a case where you've thought an investment would be great, but it didn't turn out to be that way?
Yeah, I'm not going to name the company, but my first ever angel investment, actually, we thought it would be fantastic.
Okay.
In 6 months, the company had grown from 0 to, let's say, 10 crore ARR. And the company raised a round at 12x our entry price or our valuation that we entered the company at. But 2.5 years later, the company shut down.
Okay.
Things didn't work out. The company raised too much capital. The valuation was too high. There was too much pressure on the founder, whatever that may be. It didn't work out. And there are investments which I think are eventually dying, and in my head I've written them off, and then the founder turns it around. So I think you have both kind of cases. And you got to have the stomach to accept both.
Do you personally detach yourself from the successes and failures? Because otherwise it would bother you, right? You've put in so much money and it doesn't do well.
See, I know the asset class I'm investing in and the risk that goes with investing in that asset class. I will be lying if I tell you I detach myself from successes and failures. If I've invested in a company and it doesn't go well, I feel it. It's my hard-earned money as well that's gone into the company, right? It's not. And so I think both founders and investors need to understand. Founders need to understand that investors put their own hard-earned money. And investors need to understand the founder is also trying.
Yeah.
Yes, if the founder is running a scam, if the founder is running away with the money, the founder stops coming to work, the founder gives up, then you have reason to discuss and cause for being very annoyed. But otherwise, you got to help the founder through the tough times as well. I have not seen it luckily in my portfolio, but there are circumstances we have seen recently that have come in the press and the media where there has been misappropriation of funds, there has been things being done wrongly, companies being run wrongly. So there have been cases. Fortunately, I have not seen it in my portfolio yet.
Is there an entity that kind of helps you out as investors if something like that happens? I
Yeah,
know
I think-
other industries have it.
I think at that moment, legally you got to protect yourself with your lawyers. But at that moment also you got to just like either figure out whether the founder is a crook. If the founder is a crook, act. But if the founder is not a crook and just some mistakes have been made, then you got to amicably sort it, because a board running a company is not the answer for a massive outcome. The founder's entrepreneurial energy and spirit is what will create that outcome for you.